Oh, hello! I'm so glad you've returned. I would have truly have hated to leave the story unfinished, especially since it's just beginning to get interesting. Please make yourself comfortable, grab a drink or a snack, and let's continue where we left off, shall we? Let us quickly jog our memory about what occurred the last time you visited, yes? It began when a group of 3 travelers, Seven, Redwood, and Chisel, all survived a gruesome encounter with a collection of blighted oracles. They met an apprentice of one such oracle who survived the encounter by the name of Nuntius, and after a night of investigation, nightmares, and simple bonding, the group left for the village of Emuel. There they regrouped and met the village chiefess and druid Daria, along with her children, Nestor and Piper. There it was discovered that the village was plagued by a dark illness, which the village chief himself fell victim to. Shortly after, a man, a cleric, by the name of Ven Kashale, met the odd trio, and informed them of a divine flower that could aid in healing the village, but he would need their help in acquiring it. The group agreed and prepared themselves with rest and food before the next morning arrived. It is that same morning that we continue further into this ever-darkening world. We begin the next morning in Umaria. Our lovely party, consisting of Redwood, Chisel, Seven, all awake inside a stone dome that makes up a house, saved specifically for guests who decide to spend their time within the venue. The birds are chirping, crickets are going about their business. You hear the footsteps of early morning risers just outside of your little abode. Shrub is very much moving around the home, eagerly to get moving once again. Eventually, you hear the sound of wood on stone and a knocking sort of sound as a familiar voice, the voice of Nestor, echoes into the home.
Devin is the first to answer as he gets up stretching. All right. Coleman? He opens the door.
Seven, yes?
Yeah.
Just was requested by Venkashale to inform you that he will be ready when you all are to begin your travels.
Alright then. What time is it?
Just a little past
early.
just a little past dawn. He said the journey was rather long, so the earlier you all left, the better.
Alright, sounds good. Lads! Wake up! It's time to get moving!
Shrub's ears kind of flatten onto her head as she looks to you and goes, "There's no need to yell. This is like 10 feet by 10 feet. That's unnecessary."
Aye, but if you recall, Chisel has a hard time waking up in the morning.
I know how to deal with that.
Then do it. Thank you.
Shrub makes her way over to where Chisel is sleeping. And then...
I wouldn't do that.
Are you awake?
Yes.
Are you fully awake?
Yes.
Roll me
Define fully awake.
Fully awake as in you are sitting up, you are getting out of bed.
I am not getting out of bed, but I am sitting up.
Okay.
It's just...
Shrub immediately just... If a fox could frown, it's what she's doing right now. Her plans have been thwarted. Before she immediately hops up.
You forget it. Stone echoes. I heard every single voice this morning.
Sounds like a you problem. The Shrub hops up onto the bed that Redwood is currently sleeping on.
Morning, Shrub. Okay. What up?
She presses her cold nose against the back of your neck. A routine that the two of you had developed during your travels in order to get you up faster.
No, please don't. Okay, what up? What up? Yeah, okay. Redwood is immediately sitting up and throws off cover, throws his legs to the side. Okay, we're up. Stop it.
He sits next to you and for a brief moment before hopping off the bed and going, I'm so excited. I don't think we've actually traveled near the river before, have we?
Not very far down the river, but a little bit.
I wonder what we'll see.
Ish.
Well, honestly, I'm hoping for we don't see anything.
But where's the fun in that?
The fun
Yeah, where's the
making
fun
it
in
in one
that?
piece. Chisel. You wouldn't see anything if something came across our path.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
You're gonna get blindsided by a bear.
That's mean.
He's
What a
right.
bear would do, though.
He's right, though.
Sorry. Only that kind of negative. Just, I hope for uneventful, because uneventful means safer.
You've watched Shrub scratch the side of her nose with her paw for a brief moment before speaking. I don't think things are going to be uneventful for a good while.
One can hope.
Honestly, after the horror show we saw the other few days, our odds aren't looking good.
This is the blight we're talking about.
Yeah.
Why is everyone such a worry sport?
Well, you never actually seen the blight, have you?
I don't. Well, no, because he can't see.
Yeah, that's why. So you trust us, lad. It's not a pretty sight.
That's awful.
Oh, definitely.
I need food before even thinking about going out.
Shrub goes over to a corner, quote unquote, of the circular space and grabs a sack that you would all put in food into and drags it over to the center of the room. I'm gonna go wait outside. And she goes past the privacy curtain that makes up the doorway into the home.
Seven gets all his gear together, everything he's pretty much ready to go out, as he reaches in and into his stash of sugar bread and gets, his morning loaf.
You really are addicted to this stuff.
You say addiction, I say appreciation.
You sure are appreciative of the stuff.
Aye. And if you knew if your taste buds were actually working, you'd be too.
Sure. Let's say that. So, Redwood gets up, he assembles what little gear he has, and going to make his way out.
Chisel is going to get dressed and be the last one out, sluggishly just making his way.
You see Shrub is running around with some of the hunting dogs that make up the sort of pack that helps with the hunters out by the main entrance that you all have been staying the night by. You see Lily's group, you see Nuntius, and you also see Ven Kashale with his pack and staff. And a interesting lantern kind of hanging off of the side of his belt. Very similar into that glowy crystal style with wood wrapping around it and creating a handle. And it just kind of rests there on his hip. His attire is... You see that he's actually wearing more layers considering it is a colder fall morning than what he was wearing when he arrived in the forest, in the village the previous night. He is speaking to both Lily and to the chiefess, and once he notices you, he waves all of you over.
Morning, everybody! Who's ready to save a village?
And Kashale smiles at you. His stubble very much glistening in the light as he looks to you and goes, "That's the kind of attitude I'd like to see from people like you."
Well, we'll work on that one.
Hmm?
We'll work on that one.
What do you mean work on that one?
It's a little cold for high energy.
And Venkashali nods. Understandable. Do you perchance need extra layers? I have plenty.
I will survive. Though I do have that question. I turn my head over to Thevin. You're not wearing sleeves. How are
Aye.
you okay?
You don't know, I've said this before. I am from the Knotted Rise. It is colder than a whale's ass cheek up there.
An oddly specific thing to say. I'm sorry that caught me so off guard.
So I'm assuming you
Whale.
walk in the nude during the summer.
Good lord, man, I have decency.
Venkashali just kind of goes, that's an interesting way of thinking of it. Maybe one day you should go to the Knotted Rise yourself, Wedrud.
No, thank you. The
What's a
weather,
whale?
the animals, everything there screams death, and there's not a song I wish to join.
Ah, but the deer are beautiful. And the moose as well. Granted, yeah,
I
they
am-
could kill you, the moose at least, but they're beautiful.
I do not know what a moose is, and at this point, I really do not want to.
You see Venkashali shrugs, readjusts his pack as he goes, yeah, no, moose are rather majestic creatures, actually. If Thevin is
So is
Is
a bear.
anyone gonna tell me what a whale is?
Never seen a whale? Oh yeah, blind.
Whales are rather large creatures. They spend most of their time in the ocean, although the fact that you've seen one, Thevin, is rather interesting, because they like to stay away from the coastlines.
Well, yeah, but... Yeah, I've been on a whaling ship before.
Anyhow, I suggest that we discuss things with everybody before we continue forward.
What do we
There's-
need to discuss? We have a direction, we know what we're looking for.
Well, there are some things that our friend Nuntius would like to inform you of. And you see the golden eyes of Nuntius kind of peek over Venkashali's shoulder, the one elf being taller than Nuntius, and he goes, that's actually right, yes. So I'll be traveling with Lily and her group back to the Golden Sanctum. Since you all said that you wanted to potentially go there to see if you can learn anything, I'll be taking a head start on that research. We have some tablets and things like that that could potentially have some insight on everything. I'll actually, in specific, look into that necromancy thing that you mentioned, Thevin. See if I can scrounge up anything on that.
That would be much appreciated.
And then Lily said that she's going to head back to her people in Fastiel in order to make sure that everything's okay over there. With the blight and all, you can never really tell.
Aye.
Lily kind of leans against her longbow a little bit as she nods. Yeah. We're closer to the coast, and luckily because of that, we haven't had any issues, luckily, yet. It doesn't seem that the blight is interested in staying close to the purity of water. But
Well,
no,
knocked
better-
on stone, that never happens.
Yes, better safe than sorry. So if you find yourselves needing a place to rest, Fastiel will be at your beck and call.
Alright, sounds good.
We'll be heading off, actually now that I think about it. And she looks over to, this big mastiff, this golden color, black towards the paws and the snout, and goes, Henry, time to get moving. And the dog perks up as he was clearly playing with Shrub. Kind of does like a downward dog and then like a light wharf before heading off with the group of hunters and the rest of the dog pack that works with them. Nuntius quick to follow behind.
It's not the board, it was a fourth.
I mean, yeah, we've seen a mastiff.
Shrub approaches and just kind of rests by your feet, Redwood, as she goes, like him. He was nice. Big, though.
Yeah. Red was going to reach down, pick up Shrub, and sort of hang her over his shoulders. Yeah, I assume we'll be seeing him again.
Possibly. So what exactly are we supposed to expect on this journey through the river? Or down the river? Through? Down? Up?
At
Hopefully
worst,
just water.
well, at worst, death, disease, some very, very large fish.
And at best, some normal fish and water.
I mean, very large fish can still be normal fish. I mean, they get really big.
And most likely, some bears trying to hunt the fish. You may see the blight. We
Some
may
wolves.
see
We might find some wolves. Some
And
birds of prey.
And hopefully some whetstones. Those are really good.
I don't think
To
whetstones
throw.
are in the river.
Venkashala is watching this interaction as it looks like you're talking to just a fox. To him, it looks like you're just talking to a fox that's squeaking. But it's interesting because you can tell that you all can understand Shrub. So he's just kind of leaning against his staff a little bit with his head cocked to the side as he watches this interaction between the four of you.
It's a shared hallucination.
Anyways, let's go. And Chisel just starts walking in front of him. Just
Wrong direction,
straight
Chisel.
forward.
You
As-
immediately bump into Venkashale. Face first
Sorry.
into his waist.
Hi.
And Venkashale puts a hand on your shoulder and goes, right direction, somewhat, but, let's, keep you towards the front, shall we?
Rotates his head like you do a toddler.
And Venkashale gently leads you and the rest of the group out of the walls of Imeyuan and into, once again, the wooded expanse. The green of the grass is vibrant despite the cold morning dew sticking to it, with a little bit of frost mixed in due to the sort of mid-fall season. You all continue forward down the river. As you begin to make a little bit more distance, going past and down a hill, into more flat terrain, open sky, and open air. Venkashale looks back to all of you, walking backwards a little bit, despite the tall grass, and goes, "The journey will take about 5 days. Not entirely sure the exact location of this plant that we're looking for, but I have a general idea."
Better than nothing. Besides, if the scenery stays as flat as it is, it'd be real easy to, spot something.
Well, we will have to start moving closer to the river at some point, and by that we'll eventually hit woodlands. Very thin woodlands, but still enough for creatures to cross over from the coyote range.
Coyotes, eh? It's been a while since I hunted a coyote.
They may stay up close to the mountains, unfortunately. Although that depends, considering how dead everything has been getting in the past year or so.
Whatever comes our way, I'm sure we can handle it.
I remember my pet coyote.
You had a pet coyote?
Yeah, his name was Sook.
What happened to Sook?
I don't know, I haven't seen him.
There's a reason for that.
He probably got hunted.
Shrub eventually hops off your shoulders, Redwood. As the sun gets higher into the sky, she kind of runs around a little bit. And as she's running around, for a brief moment, you kind of see her flicker between her natural form and the fox form that she takes. She doesn't light anything on fire, but it's very clear that in this moment, being out in the open air with nothing for miles, she kind of lets her walls down a little bit. Something that she hasn't been able to do for a good long while. As she bounces from patch of grass to patch of grass.
So, Redwood, how did you and Rob even meet in the first place?
I told you about how in the Great Forest, in the Velk Drobo, we have that awakening of a magic circle.
Aye?
When I had my awakening, easiest way to put it is she appeared before me. And, well, she's been a nightmare, but also a good friend.
So, is she like an actual fox, but just empowered by magic, or is she like a spirit fox?
Both?
Redwood, you at this sort of question being asked of you, you realize you're not entirely 100% sure on either account. It's not something that you or Shrub ever discussed. It was just fact that she was able to do what she can do.
There's not a lot of testing you can do for something like that. She just kabukis every once in a while.
Kabukis.
At that Shrub, immediately you see her ears pop up over the grass along with her eyes and goes, Kabuki?
A small explosion of fire in like a matter of seconds.
Is that like a real word, or one that you and Shrub made up?
When we made up.
Yeah, it's more one I use.
Huh.
Does that mean that I have to Kabuki something?
No.
Are you sure? Because I can.
Yes, don't.
Maybe in the future, little Shrub.
Yay! She pops back off and deep into the grass again.
She's an interject little one, isn't she?
Well, she's a representation of fire, and by the god, she shows it.
And Kashale looks over to the two of you. If I've known anything about those who are druids with animal familiars, to some extent, they typically represent the opposite of what their masters are.
What's that supposed to mean?
It means you're very anxious and scared.
No, that doesn't necessarily mean that. Well, Redwood is right. Shrub represents the aspect of fire. If your circle is that of fire, then it also means that her personality is a little bit more spontaneous than Redwood's. Forgive me for coming to conclusions, but Redwood seems to be an individual who takes a little bit more caution when figuring things out or taking steps towards something. He's very much a man who knows that danger lurks and that he should be careful for it.
And
Now-
it kept me alive.
Yes. Now say someone who was more like Shrub's personality and had a familiar that was similar to that of Redwood.
I see.
I've seen a variety of familiars. Shrub represents the spontaneity.
Spontaneity.
Thank you. Spontaneity of fire. How it can quickly erupt. You never expect it until it's already too late. But if someone were to be have a familiar more Redwood, or someone familiar that was much calmer, they would be more like a village bonfire, or the fire that you create in order to cook nice food on a cold winter's night. Warm, inviting, and welcoming.
So real quick, how tall is the grass we're walking through?
Waist height. So, tall enough that Shrub kind of disappears underneath it, but not that you guys can't see anything.
With
The
this
little
kind
mote of fire keeps hopping out of the grass?
Shrub is leaping and bounding, kind of the same way a fox would. Similar to, have you seen videos of foxes like bouncing up and then arcing down into the ground?
Yeah.
Mainly when they're hunting. She's doing something like that, but when she comes out from the grass and makes that arc, You see very briefly, all of you see this for a very brief moment, that she kind of flickers between a form made of fur and flesh, shift to a form made of pure fire, which quickly shimmies and shivers back into that flesh and fur form.
Well, I can't see it.
You can't see it, but everyone else
No,
can.
I mean the grass is as tall as I am.
Yes,
Oh.
that's what I was leading to.
It's just
looking
I
out.
can't see
You
it.
just see his hairline. That's all you see of Chisel is his hairline.
Yeah, as we're like zoning out of the conversation, looking at Shrub bouncing around, he kind of thinks, "Wait, where's Chisel?"
30 feet away in the water, just
Actually, Chisel, roll me a perception check.
oh no. Is this with sight? Fuck.
Suffer.
7.
Things seem pretty normal. Not exactly sure why you're only going a certain distance before you feel like you're being stopped by an invisible wall, but you're still going.
This is weird. Just
I make a perception check to see if I can find Chisel.
Yes, you may roll a perception check.
I keep walking into the trees.
14.
14. You see Chisel. He is making, similar to what Shrub is doing, he is making indents in the grass so you can see a path of where he's been meandering. But you also notice that Venkashale seems to be holding a rope that follows the path that Chisel has taken in the grass.
I've
He
been
got
leashed.
leashed.
I've been leashed.
Devin looks at the rope, mark it to where he sees, or he thinks he sees Chisel, and just says, "Oh, that's a smart idea."
Do I keep hitting trees or something? It's just I keep stopping.
You're fine. Venkashale just kind of shouts.
It's a
off
very
into
dense
distance.
forest.
Venkashale just shouts, "Don't worry about it. You're still in line with us, so you're fine." Venkashale then whispers over to you, Thevin. If he falls into water, I'm quite worried that I won't be able to get him out.
Don't worry, I'll dive in and get him.
You know what, guys? I can swim, right?
Full of surprises, I see.
Well, I think Chisel, is more worried that, it's kind of cold out, and you fall into cold water.
That is also another issue. We do not want you getting sick.
I live in the peaks of the Knotted Rise. How can I get sick by the cold?
And how often have you gone swimming in the river?
There is no rivers on the peaks, but in the actual mountains, there's quite a few rivers.
Venkashale just kind of lets out a soft chuckle.
My question still stands. How often did you swim? While it was cold.
Every week! At least once!
Just let him think he's independent for a minute.
I am not a child!
As you're leashed.
We're okay. Just follow the sound of the movement of grass. You'll find the rest of us. You'll be okay.
And yeah, if you feel a tug, that means you're going the wrong direction or you're too far.
So, time passes. We're going to say that this has been a day. You can mark off 1 or 2 rations, depending on how much you feel your character would eat in that moment. Eventually, Venkashale, as the day starts to turn into night, Venkashale eventually does stop. There is a set aim of woodlands off to the side, and so he sort of leads the group over into that to make sure that you guys are not super exposed to anything out in the wild, or to the blight. As he begins sort of setting up camp.
Yeah, Devin lays out his bedroll for the night, and immediately grabs his bow and arrow. It's like, "Alright, going hunting. Is there anything you guys want to see if I can catch in particular?"
If you could catch a deer, I would actually really like to use its antlers for something this evening.
Alright, 1 buck coming up.
Thank you. And you, as you're walking away, like you're getting your arrows and stuff, you watch as Venkashale places his hand, like he creates a sort of pit with stones and sticks, and you watch as he reaches his hand out, the center of which glowing a circle on his palm that alights a similar gold color to that of Nuntius's eyes in his own and Nuntius's magic. His eyes also glowing, and a fire just suddenly bursting spontaneously gold before settling to that normal calm red and orange.
Seven just kind of mumbles to him. Maybe I can get him to teach me that kind of spell. Be useful.
Similar spells.
Now,
Redwood, what are you doing next to me? I'm like 10 feet away from the camp.
I was staying away from everybody. You walked towards my bedroom.
roll
You
me an
are
insight check, 7.
22. Fuck.
If you would like, Redwood, you may roll me a deception check. No.
6.
Nah.
Yeah, 7, you are it is very obvious that Redwood feels that he needs to stay away from the rest of the camp. In fact, he's actually closer to the edge of the forest line that leads straight out. So there's not as much shrubbery or trees kind of blocking him compared to everyone else in the camp. And
Seven.
it's very clear that this is a sign of someone who was ready to run the moment that he may need to.
Devin looks at Redwood, looks at his bedroll where it's placed compared to the rest of the camp. A good few, 2 or 3 times his head moves from Redwood to the camp. Alright. We're gonna talk about this on first watch when I get back.
What? You go. I'll be here.
7, if you are simply going to hunt for the sake of hunting, then go ahead, then you won't need to roll. But if you are hoping to catch anything in particular, then I would request that you roll me a normal d20, and this will be a luck check, basically.
Okay. So yeah, I am specifically looking for that deer that Ben asked for, or buck.
Okay. So you manage to hunt a few small birds, and you actually do manage to catch that buck that you were hoping to find.
Ah, this is a good size one.
It is actually decently large.
Since it is a fairly large creature, and he has some other stuff, he wraps the smaller game around a string or a rope, ties it around his waist like a belt of just dead little critters, then positions himself underneath the buck so that its head is resting on top of his head and its front legs are over his shoulders as he does a backpack carry back to camp.
You didn't have to go very far in order for you to find game, so you were very lucky on that front, considering the fact that you're also close to a river, so it made finding these animals a lot easier for you. Roll me a survival check.
All right. 15.
During your time hunting, you are very, very adept and very skilled at watching the tracks and the signs of game moving throughout woods and just throughout the land in general. Something that you quickly noticed was how there seemed to be a plethora of various animal tracks coming from the Knotted Rise to the north and further into this side of Umaria. It's not just your standard hoof prints or anything like that either. There are creature footprints that you recognize to be naturally of the mountains moving further in. And you think back to what Van Kashale mentioned about the land dying further up to the Knotted Rise. And you guess that there is definitely some correlation to it, but you're not entirely 100% sure what this cause is. Because if predators are moving like this, then something bad is happening up there.
Realizing this, Seven furrows his brow a bit and gives a little deep sigh. All right. We might find some more fun sooner than expected as he makes his way back to camp.
As you make your way back to camp, what is everybody else doing?
Redwood's
Fine.
taking a little bit of time, making sure his area is fairly clear and free of bugs.
Shrub has taken to, despite the colder air, playing with the small amount of fireflies that are floating around in the area. You actually watch as she manages to have one land on her nose and for her to go cross-eyed trying to look at it before she gets up on her hind legs and falls backwards on her back.
Well, I think we've learned something.
What?
Fireflies are not easy to chase on the nose. Don't hunt what's on your face.
I mean, that's fair, but it's hard.
It's cute as all hell, but don't.
But it's so tempting, and I keep doing it. As she sneezes, and as another one tries to land on her nose again.
Let me. And Redwood's going to try and brush it off of her face.
Thank you. She sits next to you, Redwood, and goes, "You're more nervous than normal."
We're going towards something dangerous through grasslands, and still don't quite know the folks around me. Evan he seems like a lot, and Chisel, while entertaining, can be a lot. But we're working on it. We'll figure it out.
You know what could help with that is by asking them questions about themselves, right? Maybe get to know them a little bit better.
I ask questions. It opens up questions towards me.
Well,
And we both know we don't talk about that.
you see her frown, and you watch as her brows furrow. You've never seen a fox look more concerned for you than she does currently, as she rests herself on your lap and goes, "You spend so much time alone with only me as your company. I'm worried that's kind of hindering on your social skills. You know,
Who
it's...
needs social skills? You're company enough.
While I appreciate that," she kind of boops your nose with her own and goes, "You and I both know that I'm not always going to be around to help you. I may be a spirit, but who knows what could happen."
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
All I'm saying is, be prepared to give answers before it's too late to keep holding them back.
Eventually.
I'll take that. Now, do you want fish or do you want jerky?
We did jerky last night. Let's do fish tonight.
You watch as she goes into your sack of food and pulls out a decent-sized fish. And goes, "You might want to eat this one before it goes bad," as she walks over to the fire with it in her mouth to give to Venka Chalet. For
Dear
him to
Lord, we
cook.
do not need my bag smelling again.
No, that sucked. As she gives it to the cleric, who kindly thanks her, and pats her head nice and gently, and puts it on a spoke on a spit in order to cook it properly. And he actually, as Shrub walks away to go back to Redwood, he actually looks over to you, Chisel, as you're doing what exactly?
Absently staring into the fire, shaking my legs.
Like the little kitty back and forth thing where you touch the tips of your toes together, or like an anxious bouncing of the legs?
Anxious. Not really anxious, just absent-mindedly.
It's sort of like that ADHD leg bounce.
Yeah. Yep.
He looks over to you and goes, "Someone's antsy."
I've never been able to sit still. Ever.
Well, maybe you'd help me with something then. Your family, if I recall correctly, they're proud stoneworkers, yes?
Only stoneworkers I know, yeah.
Have you picked up on any of their skills since we last talked?
Not really. I know how to differentiate between the types of stones without looking at them, but that's really about it.
Well, in order to properly prepare to harvest the plant, and in order to prevent us from getting hurt from some things that we will be discussing later, I actually need you to carve me a few sigils into stone, if you don't mind. If you feel that you can, of course. I won't make you do anything you don't think you can.
I know how to carve into stone.
Excellent.
I was one of the ones that was helping with my family's circle protective ward to ward off predators and such.
Ah, so you do know your sigils. Excellent. Then it should be no problem if I give you the name of them for you to carve them into these this sort of large tablet that I have. Don't worry about separating the stones. I can handle that bit, but I will need the runes carved into it at least. That way you have something to do with your hands.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. You hear him rummage through his bag for a moment before you hear him go, "What? I forgot this is as heavy as it is." And you hear a sort of thunk as he places it on the fallen log that you are currently sitting upon.
I'm just imagining the log just splitting in half.
It does. You actually do kind of, as you're sitting there, you're more in tuned to touch than others. You kind of do feel the bark of it kind of bend a little bit at the impact of the tablet.
You've been carrying that all day.
Yes.
Your poor back.
Oh, trust me, I'm very well aware. As you kind of hear him go, and you just hear the cracking noises of his spine just kind of go one by one, popping.
Okay. What are these sigils?
Ah, right. And he starts giving you an extensive list, but there's a good few handful of runes that he's requesting. None of them necessarily super intricate. They are mainly protective wards and the like. As he
Why do you have a brain protective ward? It's not supposed to be writing until next month.
You'll see when we get to the location of the holly, don't worry. As he basically guides you through what runes he needs, making sure to only tell you one at a time instead of overloading you with the amount. And it is by this time that, Evan, you arrive back at camp.
So, since I do have the deer on my back, I wonder if in the shadows it just looks like a deer is walking on its hind legs coming towards
Oh no! Ben Kashali looks up and kind of jumps for a moment. His hand seemingly reaching for his lantern that's still on his hip for some reason. Before he pauses and goes, "Evan?
I?
You look creepy standing in the dark like that."
Well, you try single-handedly carrying a full-blown book on your back.
Where'd you find it?
Devin just kind of does a little hop gesturing to the deer on his back. Yeah.
Do you want help?
I got all the way here. Might as well go the rest as he walks over to his part of the camp and plops it down,
Oh, excuse
And-
me.
takes off, the belt of dead critters, puts that to the side as well, and takes out his carving knife and starts. I'm blanking on the terminology.
Carving.
Skinning
Skinning.
the critters.
Ven Kashali looks appreciatively at your catches. Clearly very impressed because, one, shooting birds out of the sky or out of trees isn't easy. Shooting them out of trees and out of the sky in the dark is a completely different feat. And these aren't super small birds either. They're not like finches or anything like that. They're decent sized birds.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You must have trained for a very long time to be able to shoot like that."
Hey, as soon as I can walk and draw back a bow.
It's honestly rather impressive. I haven't seen anyone be able to do that.
Yeah. Small village, a lot of hunting.
That makes sense, especially since you grew up in the mountains.
Hey, speaking of which, a lot of critters are fleeing the mountain.
Is it just normal critters, or should we expect predators?
Probably predators as well. I mean, it's all kinds. Creatures that normally wouldn't migrate this far south. So safe to assume there's something really fucking scary up there, and all the animals are responding accordingly by getting the fuck out of here.
Yes, that does make sense. Well, I'll be sure to put the necessary boards up and to make sure that the food is properly strung up for the evening when we go to rest.
Hey, as he just reaches into his shackle, pulls out essentially the equivalent of a bone saw and starts sawing away at the buck's antlers.
As you begin sawing away at the buck's antlers, fun fact, buck's antlers, because of the velvet on their horns and their antlers, actually bleed,
Yeah.
which is a very interesting thing. Probably one of my favorite fun facts.
Why do I smell blood?
It's not
I'm
actually blood, I don't think. I think it's like a pigmentation thing. I could be wrong.
I mean, with the skinning, he probably will smell blood.
He probably will smell blood anyways. But Ven Kashali goes back over to you, Chisel, and goes, that's just Seven's kills.
Yeah, I still don't like that.
Unfortunately, we must do what we need to survive.
Chisel, I respect your fact that you don't want to eat meat. I respect my fact that I'm going to eat meat.
Ven Kashali looks over to you, Chisel, and goes, "You don't eat meat."
Never have. Most of my family doesn't.
That's something I can respect. Well, I'm sure I can scrounge up some sort of herbs and things to make a decent soup with all of this.
Don't worry, I stole Devin's sweet rolls or sugar bread.
What the fuck did you just say?
Ven Kashali quickly steps between the two of you with his hands up before things escalate. Now, Devin.
Well, first things first, Devin checks where the sugar bread is, where his stash is.
I don't know where the stash is.
He's basically bluffing.
Yeah, but that's gonna confirm it's where we left it.
Well, first off, Chisel, did you actually take any sugar bread, or are you truly bluffing?
Bluffing.
Okay.
I don't know where he hid it, so
Fair enough. Devin, you look into your stash and you find that actually none of it was taken.
With a sigh of relief, Devin, relaxes, goes back to his games, and as he does so, he turns to Chisel and just says, "Joke about that again, and I'll put a little prank on you, something you'll never forget."
Ven Kashali, if you could imagine the sort of the anime sweat drop of a person sitting there, is just because he's technically the middleman between the two of you right now witnessing this, he's just oh boy.
And if you do ever steal my sugar bread without asking me first, there's going to be a lot more where that came from.
I don't like sugar bread. It's too sweet.
Now you're trying to make me angry.
Now, you two. It's dark, it's late, we're all tired and hungry, and we still have several days of travel to go. I suggest that we try not to wring each other's necks for the remainder of the trip, yes?
Hey, that would be smart. But I make no promises.
Van Kashale gladly takes the antlers from you, Devin, puts them to the side near his things, and you watch as he huffs up him, like he kind of pulls up his sleeves a little bit. He rid himself of the main overlayer robe to reveal sleeves that are a little bit closer to the arms. And when he rolls them up, you actually see he has a decent bit of muscle from being a man who travels and cares for himself on his own while on the road and things like that. And he huffs up the stone tablet back up before placing it on the ground near his things. And you watch as he once again puts his hand out, mutters a small spell that causes the stone to crack perfectly into square segments that he separates and organizes and puts into a separate pouch that he ties off for later. Pulling out a rough stone bowl with a wooden pestle, starts like breaking the bone, like the antlers apart, cracking them and snapping them in places where the bone of the antler is weakest. Getting them as small as he can before putting them into the mortar and just kind of grinding away with this pestle as best as he can. As he kind of looks around in his things and goes, "No, wait, what's that? It's at the bottom of the bag. God damn it. I'll get it later." And he puts the bowl off to the side before going. Is there anything that you caught that you'd like cooked, Devin? Anything to add into the stew for the evening?
Oh, well, you saw the birds. We got some squirrel here, and I got a rabbit.
Why don't we save the squirrel and rabbit for breakfast tomorrow? String those ones up.
Sounds good. Heck, some of the birds I caught, they had nests and they had some eggs too.
Oh, that's perfect. I haven't had a good egg in a while. As he seems to go into his bag, and you watch as his arm disappears into it, as he kind of like sinks far in, sort of falling. Like it looks like as if he pushed, like a normal person were to enter their bag, their arm would like hit ground eventually, but his just keeps going and going, and eventually he almost ends up halfway in the bag before pulling out a decent sized pot and setting up the cooking supplies and things like that for the evening.
Devin just looks at the bag for a moment and thinks out loud, I gotta get me one of those.
Specially enchanted. A personal design. Something that took me a very, very long time to put together.
What could I get you in order to get me one of those?
I can make you one once this journey is over if you'd like.
That'd be great.
Definitely would make carrying a game easier, I'm sure.
Oh, certainly. Also store more arrows.
That is true. It would also make carrying things that are heavier a lot easier on you as well.
Oh, yeah, that's obvious.
Ro's gonna stuff the thing full of sugar bread.
Maybe?
You watch as he cooks and preps everything to make a nice stew, creating a side dish from the fish that you had created for you specifically, Redwood, and making something that's not consisting of meat, but of a nice mix of mushrooms and eggplant and things that he had from his previous travels still good enough to use. Cooking it all up and ready. Before occasionally he would like toss like any bits of meat that were still good but couldn't or too small to put into the stew. He would toss to Shrub, who would like jump up and catch it. And eventually you will, the smell sort of permeates throughout the camp before finally the food for the evening is finished. And he gathers a set of wooden bowls that he uses to scoop the stew into for you, Seven. Smaller bowl for you, Redwood, to go with your fish that he then eventually hands you. And a bowl for himself, and then he hands you, Chisel, your own personal meal that he made for you for the evening. I hope it's to everyone's liking. I did the best I could with what I had, but it should come out still decent, I think.
Evan takes, lifting his mask up just enough to, get a spoon in there. Well, here.
You are pleasantly surprised by what you taste. This is a man who has spent almost as long as longer than you on the road, and has been able to very much find ways to combine what one would normally deem as strange into a decent and hearty meal. And
Nice.
Combined with the fact that it is warm, makes it all better.
Where's it over? Could you give me that recipe?
Don't see why not.
Thank you.
How was your fish over there, Redwood?
It's great, thank you. Where did you learn to cook?
Well, my mother, she was a bit of a herbalist. Not exactly a druid. She didn't have the connection to nature as most druids would, but she was very good at discerning her herbs. And my father was very much... He was more of a large game hunter, but still someone who would occasionally hunt for deer and things to help supply the village. And that was basically that. My mother, so basically it was a combination of the two of them combining their efforts into cooking. That recipe actually is my grandmother's, funnily enough.
Oh. Very, very good. Yeah, I would like to join his lessons with Evan as well.
I'm assuming, no offense, but I'm assuming you have a tendency to overcook your food.
Rather the opposite.
Ah. Well, not only that, but I can help Shrub learn how to sort of keep a fire in check in order for you to use her as a sort of stovetop. If that's alright with her, of course.
That's an interesting premise, but I don't see why not.
Shrub looks over and goes, I can be useful!
Some of you
Yay!
always useful.
Thank you, Theven. This is why I like you. She just kind of trots past you with a small fish in her mouth.
Hey, you want a little squirrel with it too?
Why not?
He tosses it over to her.
She places, before you toss it, she kind of places the fish on the ground and then immediately leaps double the height that you've seen her do, catching the squirrel midair before placing it on top of the fish and carrying both in her mouth as she walks away to go and eat. So, now that we're all settled and have food in our stomachs, I'm quite curious. I heard from the chiefess that something had happened at the ruins, but not exactly privy to the details.
Oh, yeah, so the priestesses, nuns, or whatever you want to call them, clerics, they began the ritual, and everything went to hell in a handbasket, as like they all died, The main one, the center, kind of came this undead plant monsters. The one on the outsides became like zombies, and we had to kill them.
Oh. Truly horrible. I'm so sorry. I'm glad you all survived.
Luckily, we know how to work together.
That's good. That's something you need in a time like this. Do you happen to have anything from post-attack? Any sort of... anything that may have been on the bodies or in the area?
I knew I found something within the area after the attack, but I gave that to Nuvent, our cleric friend who went to the actual, shrine. Oi, Chisel, didn't you pick something up back there?
Huh?
You picked something off the bodies, right?
Yeah. I think.
Well, go ahead, show the man.
Chisel pulls out the necklace, not knowing he's just facing the problem.
Over here.
Hold on. And Chisel kind of squirms around, turning around.
Ven Kashale, not forcing you to take the necklace off fully, kneels down in front of you and puts it in the palm of his hand to get a closer look at it. And goes, Head Oracle's amulet. That's pretty standard. I sense that you have been able to sort of see traces of magic with this.
Mostly.
He kind of flips it over and then pauses. Now that is odd. You see, an oracle's amulet typically consists of 2 different sets of runes, one on the front and one on the back. The one on the front acts as what allows them to see their magic, and the magic of others. But the one on the back, and he moves to the side so everyone else can get a good look. It is a circle of small set runes, with a larger rune in the center that has been slashed through, destroying that runic circle. And he goes, there's a protective rune.
So, wait, the external protection, the divine protections around the ritual site were also disabled. Was this intentional sabotage?
It's like it. Although I can't exactly say for certain if it was intentional or if it was on accident. But the line is too clean. He gently lets it go and sits back in his spot by the fire and goes, the more and more that pops up about this seems odd.
Aye.
Well, the Golden Sanctum and the higher-ups within will want to hear about this, and would like to inspect the amulet to see if they can pinpoint exactly what caused that slash. There are not just oracles that can see in the future, also see in the past, to an extent.
That ought to be helpful.
Yeah. How far is that from our destination?
Well, she looks, Ben Kashale looks up from where he's sitting and goes, judging from the position of the stars, position of the moon, it'd be about a week's travel if we were to go back to Mayuam and then head to the Golden Sanctum.
Oh, that's not too bad.
No. But if things are getting as bad as they are, to the point that the oracles are being attacked, could prove troublesome. Not only that, but the Golden Sanctum is rested in a set of rocky cliffs and mountains.
Now, did they make the place, with the idea that they might have to defend it?
Typically, the idea with places like that.
I think they'll probably be fine. Especially if this is like weird spirit world of Mudu Mojo, whatever. They're like the best people to deal with it.
Van Kashali kind of rubs the back of his neck and goes, "We may have connection to the gods. We may have that sort of holy power, but our powers are limited. We are mortal."
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just saying, it's not like it's some random city filled with mostly merchants being we gotta go to.
That is true. Hmm. Well, at least we discovered what exactly prevented the head oracle, from surviving the encounter, because typically that sigil would enact a protective barrier over the wearer. Almost virtually impenetrable. So, her dying is not... will definitely be a shock to those who she worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, considering that they weren't able to have a proper burial, would you all mind in participating in a sort of last rites for her? For all of them?
Alright.
Yes. Sure.
And Kashali stands, removes the cooking pot and the sort of collection of cooking utensils away to be cleaned later. And he stands in front of the fire before looking over to Shrub. "If you wouldn't mind providing me a little bit of aid here, my red-furred friend." Shrub looks over to you, Redwood.
Can you not hear her?
Should I?
Well, we've had some weirder experience recently. Thevin and Chisel can understand her as I'm able to for a while. So, I'm not quite sure where the boundary is.
That is odd. Normally, anyone who is not the familiar's caretaker or master can't be able to hear the familiar speak.
That's why I say the line has been a little weird.
Yes. Unfortunately, that is not something I can provide you answers with.
Regardless, yes, we'd be more than willing to help.
Shrub jumps into the fire, sits there, similarly to that of like a statue. This is probably the most still that any of you have seen her, as she understands the weight of what's happening. She knows, being a fox in nature, she knows death. And she knows that, unlike for animals, it's a little bit more important for people. So she sits, she's patient, and the fire becomes larger, despite the small sort of circle that had been there originally. It doesn't spread out, it doesn't light on anything, but it is larger and it is taller now that she is sitting within it. Ven Kashale reaches into his bag and pulls out a small little pouch pack like thing that he opens that has been separate compartments within it, and pulls out a variety of odd plants, things that none of you have seen before, but they are beautiful, if anything else. There is a branch with leaves that are similar autumn colors to the ones that have fallen around you, but made of crystal, and they shine and glint in the firelight. A golden feather is also removed from within the bag, and lastly, a small opal all of which he puts into his hands, cups it, grinds his fists, grinds his palms together, puts his mouth up to his fist and whispers into his hands, and goes, before placing them down away from his face and going, "Tonight, we honor the lives of the oracles who had died within the ruins, within the spires. They had every manner of protection, and yet it was not enough to protect them from the blight. The gods who are listening to my prayer, please protect their souls as they pass on. May their knowledge forever change those who learn from them. May Nuntius find his way in safety into the Golden Sanctum. May he uncover truths that are hidden to us. You have been nothing but guides for us since this world's conception. And so for that we thank you. And guide us and them on the proper path and the safest path, so that way we may clear this blight from your lands. To the oracles themselves who may or may not be listening, we hope that you have a safe journey onward to wherever your next destination may be. We hope you did not suffer, and we hope, beyond hope, that with your loss, we will be able to learn more about that which plagues us. And with that, he opens his hands over the fire and releases a sort of glittering, sort of dust, gold and amber in color, that falls into the fire. The smoke then changing color as a sort of light appears, a golden ball rises up with a series of smaller ones surrounding it that slowly rotate before it flies up into the sky and disappears. There is silence. And then finally a shrub steps out of the fire pit. Thank you, all to the three of you, and to Shrub.
No problem.
It is never
Yes.
right for someone to pass on without someone saying at least some sort of final words.
Immediately after, I didn't say any words, but I did sing a tune. Or hum it, I guess you could say played.
I'm sure they liked that. I'm not exactly sure what they endured when they were attacked, and I'm not sure what they endured before. But I hope that they find the safety in the afterlife that they deserve.
Aye. And that we won't share their fate. Or if we do, we find some peace in the end.
That's always a very nice way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I believe that now is the time to discuss what to sort of expect once we arrive at the Holly. He lifts the small sack of stones up that he had Chisel carve into to make those runes, places them down and goes, "These are a variety of protective wards. They will be imperative for when we go and collect the Holly. Due to the fact that it is a very powerful plant, I cannot guarantee that there won't be someone else trying to take it, or that the Blight may attempt to steal it for itself. So I am taking every manner of protection that I can, which is why the three of you are here. I will be busy doing the necessary rites and ritual in order to remove the plant safely without causing an explosion of magic similar in size to that of a large forest fire. The rest of you will handle whatever danger may enter where we are for collecting the flower.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Excellent. I hope things go well. It's always hard to tell when harvesting magical plants.
Well, is this plant supposed to, like, come to life and start attacking you?
There's a possibility.
Oh, great.
Wait, plants do that.
This isn't
Yes.
This isn't necessarily an ordinary plant.
Oh
as
yeah,
you
I get
probably
that.
guessed.
I get that magic. Well, plants that come alive and try and strangle you.
You
Mhm.
do know plants are alive, right?
Oh, I know they're alive, but they don't move like animals. Normally.
Well, the blight has caused several changes in the normal that we're used to. Angry plants, unfortunately, being one of them.
With
But-
this new knowledge, Devin kind of subconsciously grabs his musical bow and starts, rubbing at the strings a bit in anticipation.
I must say, however, this plant will most likely act in defense. There is not exactly 100% confirmation as to the origin of the holly itself, but there is belief that some of the magical plants, including the holly, were created from the tears of one of the gods, crying over Umaria after its conception. It's not exactly sure why there are now so few, and why they're so rare to sort of harvest and contain, but it's the way that it is, I guess. The way to describe it. But, as everything else does, these plants have evolved in order to protect themselves, in order to make sure that they are not uprooted or attacked by any sort of predator. But
Oh,
magical plants, on the other hand, do it in a completely different way. It all just depends on the plant.
You know,
Well, the-
my great grandmother used to tell stories about a walking tree.
Ah, I've heard of that one, actually.
Wait, that actually exists? We all thought she was crazy.
It is a particular type of tree. You see, the forest, according to legends, were created through the bones of one of the gods. He had personally torn away his arm to split his bones to create the proud trees that we see today.
that's hardcore.
Yes. Even more hardcore considering that it was the god of death who made these trees possible.
So you're saying the trees used to walk. What about a story about a wolf walking on water?
Story of a wolf walking on water?
Yeah.
That might have been a fae. It's not uncommon for them to enter into our realm out of pure curiosity or for one other reason.
Have you heard of that, lanky goat spirit that's a cannibal?
I believe I have, but I think that's more recent. Obviously, the blight walks things beyond our understanding. The walking tree was probably actually one of the original bones that was used to create the trees. For the wolf walking on water, most definitely a fae. In fact, the fae have been seen traveling all over the place recently, especially the Princess of Spring herself. It is believed that they are trying to help people understand the grasp of magic in general, not just wholly on nature. And as for the creature, I'm not sure that's something I would like to encounter anytime soon.
Yeah, sometimes, late nights of hunting, you could hear a strange kind of almost howl, but it wasn't a wolf's howl. Almost sounded goatish in a way, echoing from the mountains. A bleat of death.
Well, I know to avoid the mountains for a while now.
I've known that for quite a bit.
You know, I always heard it as an elk, not a goat.
I mean,
Maybe it was an elk.
you could
'Cause-
say.
They're my family's massive, so there is a story that one of my uncles went crazy and just went into the far reaches of the rise and just started, well, I wouldn't say devolving, but becoming something else.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that. The legends say it's like really tall, like as tall as the trees. And you
Yes.
and your family are very short.
Doesn't
I
mean-
have other family that's not gnomes.
So you're saying you have family that are like, I don't know, humans.
That's a very weird family. What?
Well, as much as I would love to continue this conversation on legend and myths, it is late, and we do still have a long journey ahead of us.
I'll take first watch.
And then
I'll take third watch.
I'll take second.
I should stay up with Chisel.
Well, then I bid you all good night. As Venkashale packs away his things, cleans up the utensils and the cooking equipment, pulls out his bedroll, lays it out flat, and then instantly, as soon as his head touches the pillow, passes out.
But that was fast.
Hey, sometimes I wish I could fall asleep that quickly.
To be fair, he travels nonstop.
Well, I'm going to find a cool, soft spot, a dirt, and good night.
Good night. And with that, the watch begins. I will not make
Good
anyone
night,
roll for anything
watch.
tonight,
Oh.
as nothing happens. Each watch goes off without any problems, and the morning rolls around. It is early when Venkashali can be heard moving, inadvertently waking all of you up. Brub seems to be running back and forth along the tree lines, tracing birds. Just kind of enjoying the early morning. It's not as early as when you first woke up yesterday. It's still decently early in the morning.
As
Nope.
Stefan kind of gets
Nope.
up and does
Still-
his stretches.
Too
he-
early.
He takes a deep breath. Is it colder today than it was yesterday, or has it warmed up a bit?
It is definitely cold. Something that you're able to pick up on, especially with the change of seasons and everything, is that winter is closing in. It's slow, but you can definitely feel the change in temperatures day by day.
There's going to be a need some bear coats sometime soon. I wonder if I can find some bears.
You'd probably have a better chance of that within the Great Forest than out here in the Expanse.
Probably. But then again, I guess it doesn't have to be better. It's as long as it's got enough pelts for people to, make some nice warm coats and blankets.
Well, from the looks of it, it may warm up later on this afternoon, but I can't make any promises.
I know that, but for when winter actually officially comes,
Oh, yes.
and we're in the dead of winter, everyone's snowed into their houses. They gotta keep warm.
Ah, yes. Those are the days that traveling is the worst. But I digress. Is everyone ready to move?
Yeah,
No.
we're okay. No?
No.
Shrub,
Chisel went back to sleep.
Shrub immediately goes over to Chisel and goes, like, looks over to the three of to Venkashale, you, Redwood, and Seven, and goes, "Can I?"
Hills
Some
is
rope.
actually going to just grab onto Shrub and snuggle into the warm fur.
Shrub releases a loud sort of squeaking sound as she's pulled under the blankets that Trizzle has encapsulated her in, and immediately starts trying to struggle. Help! Help! Help!
I just deal with it for a sec as Seven essentially wraps, I guess now the two of them, into the bedroll, kind of like a burrito, ties some rope around him, and then just hoists them onto his back.
Wait, let me out! Let me out!
Okay,
Boss!
Redwood, you want to get your little friend?
I feel like she'll be okay. Chisel is just going to use her as a stuffed animal for a bit.
I can't breathe!
You can breathe.
Venkashale just kind of laughs a little bit when a mixture of hilarity and pity for the poor animal that has now been trapped. And she just kind of has no choice but to sort of flop her head down on the roll and just accept her fate for the evening, or for the morning.
Now, Chisel, if you can hear me, and I guess Shrub as well, as soon as there's danger, I'm going to fling this, I guess, backpack, and it's going to unravel. So best be ready for that.
Oh, great. But you all begin your travel the next day. I would like someone to go ahead and roll me a d6 and subtract 1, please.
Okay. 5.
Alright.
You rolled too high, my guy. You should have rolled 0.
So, you all go through your day. It seems rather uneventful until around noon. You all are traveling along the river path in order to keep close to it, since Venkashale said that that was the best way to find the holly. If someone could please go ahead and roll me a nature or survival check.
I do survival, you do nature, Redwood?
I've got a 2 to nature and a 6 to survival.
Oh, I have a 5 in nature. It's a 5 in survival, 3 in nature.
Well, I'll roll survival.
Okay, I guess I'm rolling nature then.
I didn't go straight for either of us.
Nope.
May I try both?
Well, are you still in the
I
bedroll?
am awake by now.
Okay, so you...
Are you still in the bag?
Yes.
Are you still in the burrito?
He is still being backpacked.
Am I allowed to do this?
I would say
One
yes,
or the other?
but with disadvantage, and you have to pick one or the other.
I am actually going to do nature. Not one. Oh no.
Yeah, Chisel, you're a little bit too occupied
I'm
with
facing the wrong way and I can't see.
Yeah, and you're also kind of comfy, so you have no reason to really pay attention right now. Shrub did eventually escape your grip, by the way, once you woke up. She was not happy with it, with what had happened, and has been blatantly ignoring you for the remainder of the day.
Come on, Chaos Buddy, don't be like that.
But Redwood, you're taking a look around, you're looking out for any signs of danger, and you pass by a particular tree. Now, trees aren't, obviously uncommon. You're in a sort of thin woodland around the river. It's to be expected. But what strikes you as odd about this tree is the trunk. Specifically, the sort of odd, familiar black briars that have etched their way into the trunk and the bark itself. Almost kind of like an engraving. And the areas around the tree, around those briars, around those engravings, have bubbled and begun to rot and fester almost unnaturally. You see the small amount of insects, the ants that would climb up and down the tree trunks, beetles, things like that, have been changed. They've been morphed. They've been turned into something awful. I would like you to make me a dexterity saving throw.
Oh,
Everyone or just him?
Just Redwood.
oh, 7.
You immediately, as you're taking a closer look, you're inching your face just a little bit closer to get a look at everything and the changes. And as you get close to a particular bubble that seems to be shifting as you're looking at it, it pops, spraying splinters at you. And as you cover your face, you look too late as a decently large, like hand-sized centipede creature jumps out at you and lands on your face and on your shoulders and starts moving around and things like that. You hear its chittering as it moves, and it almost goes to bite you before its head rearing up, similarly like a snake about to strike, before Vengashali swings, smacks it with a loud crack, sending the thing spiraling into the forest floor before it runs away.
Jesus Christ.
Are you alright?
Thank you.
That was a big bug.
Yes.
What bug? Where?
Oh,
Don't worry about this.
very long, many legs, jumped on Redwood's face and started humping it.
Please don't say it like
have
that.
to put it like that. It seems something's put ritual markings on some of the trees, and it's pestering them.
This doesn't look like ritual markings.
Why do I smell blight?
Actually, Chisel, roll me a perception check. With advantage.
Trust Neof.
Yay!
You focus on the scent, close your eyes, and when you reopen them, you are seeing traces of magic. You are seeing magic that is black in color. Pitch black. Absorbing all light black. You follow it. It seems to be rooted in the ground, following up and snaking around trees and shrubs and other plant life within the area. The particular tree that they all are referring to is heavily saturated with this blight. And you can even see the many veins that have encompassed the inside and the outside of this tree, rotting
hey
it and festering it from the inside out.
I don't mean to alarm you. I think the holly is a lost cause. There is blight everywhere here.
Well, luckily, we're not anywhere close to where the holly is yet, so I don't think that will be a problem.
Then kind of removes the burrito backpack from his shoulder as he brings Chisel to his front, holding him face to face. Wait, you say you could smell it? You could smell the blight?
I have some suspicion that the amulet allows him to see the magic of the blight.
I mean, yeah, we knew it allowed him to see it, but smell it?
Oh, I mean, when one sense doesn't work, the others sort of go up to an 11.
Why does it smell like... It smells like sugar bread.
Oh wait,
You know
you are just saying that to piss me off, aren't you?
No, I'm serious. It smells too sweet. Like,
it is rather
disgustingly sweet.
sickly sweet. I understand what he means. Similar to that of a rotten corpse.
I've that to like 11.
Alright, no more burrito time for you. As I kind of pull the rope, spinning him like a Beyblade.
Oh god,
Chisel,
that's gotta be horrible.
Chisel, roll me a dex saving throw. Actually, no, make this con. Make this con.
13. Just.
You're dizzy, and things are spinning slightly, but you haven't thrown up.
I didn't know. I see shapes and they're spinning. Why am I seeing shapes and they're spinning?
Easy now, gather your feet.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're able to reorient yourself and fix your vision, what little of it you have. And
Oh, that's horrifying. I don't want Briota time anymore.
that
Then
was,
wake up at a decent time.
that was rather entertaining, as much as I hate to admit it.
Why do you guys like my suffering?
You did get quite a bit of momentum.
I don't
Bleh.
enjoy your suffering, Chisel, but you leave me no choice sometimes.
Shrub is looking down at the ground where he had spun out of and goes, "You even left a little indent."
I want to go home.
Well, home is very far away from here.
And
Actually, no, it's just over there, and just points up to the mountain, all the way over there.
Chisel,
Aye.
it's the wrong way.
And besides, didn't you hear me when I said that all the animals were fleeing in the north?
That's fine.
That means the blight or something worse, if that's even possible, is kind of up there now.
Grandpa Johnny probably just activated one of the mining. Never mind, that's trade secret. Never mind. Hi.
Vanka Shale looks up and goes, "Are we able to keep going now, or do we need to stop another bit?"
I'm
Chisel,
okay.
you good? Alright, let's go.
I'm okay.
Alrighty.
I-
And you all
I just-
continue. Redwood and Chisel, both of you shaken up for different reasons. And Shrub actually jumps up onto your shoulder, Redwood, and goes, "I didn't like that.
Well, I really was not a fan of it either.
It didn't look like a normal bug either.
What do you mean?
It was like, I'm not exactly sure how to describe it, but it was like it was diseased, corrupted, almost as if the blight had been put into its body and it resulted in it changing, and not in a good way. Now, I'm not a fan of bugs in general, unless, they're flies or butterflies, but that was just a different level of gross. Deep within the woods, close to an unnamed river that rests between the main Coyote Range and the Woodger Expanse. The sound of footsteps from crunching leaves within the deep fall air can be heard. It is here where we find a total of 4 figures and an animal companion moving throughout this surprisingly dense woodlands. Eventually, moving further northwest, a blonde elf that we all know as Ven Kashale, adorned within his clerical robes of the god Zethos, stops in his tracks. It has been several days' worth of travel. You all have seen a variety of nature that you probably have or have not taken a proper look at before. But now, the terrain has started to become rocky, as the flat expanse begins to slope upward slightly. What was once a riverbank starts to climb into rocky crags and cliffs the further up the group moves. It becomes darker with the lack of sunlight being able to reach this part of the expanse. In front of you all, you see a grand cave entrance. It's not hand carved, it is a natural part of the expanse itself. You can barely see anything within the cave's mouth. Van Kashale rests his staff with the hanging, glowing natural lantern against a nearby wall. Sets down his bag, kneels down, and begins to fish out items.
What you looking for over there?
He looks over to you, Thevin, and simply says, a pouch of required ingredients for what we're about to potentially encounter within these caves.
Some beasties, undead threats, maybe even the plants themselves.
Venkashale's face is very serious as he has pulled out a smaller pouch. Maybe no bigger than that of a what we would consider in our modern day a coin pouch. He goes to each of you and seems to put his hand into the pouch before coming out with 2 fingers covered in a strange red dust. He looks to you, Thevin, since you were the closest to him, and goes, I will need to work a sigil upon your forehead in order to ensure your protection.
Hey, alright, go ahead.
He carves a quick swirling set of symbols that finishes with a single dot, and you can somewhat, in that moment, feel it course an energy through you, despite the fact that he hasn't spoken any words. It is clear that the magic within this is within the powder itself, not with him placing it. And he goes to each of you and does the same symbol to varying sizes based on your body types before putting the bag away, placing the symbol upon his own forehead with the remaining dust, and grabbing his things once again.
So what would we be expecting in that?
Hard to say.
Let's hope not a cloaker.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those. Real nasty things, right?
One of the more recent creations from this blight, yes. He grips his staff tightly that you can actually hear the creaking of the wood against his fist. Well, we aren't going to be getting anything done by standing out here.
Could have said it better myself. Let's get going. Devin kind of leads the way.
To provide a bit of light, he loosens his hand on his staff, taps it against the ground, and the lantern on both his hip and on the staff glow in the light. He takes the lantern off of his hip and actually hands it to you, Redwood.
Do you not need it?
He kind of gestures with his staff to the free lantern that's hanging off of it. It would be better if we do end up splitting up due to some sort of incident, that we all have a similar light source.
Oh, well, I hope to not get separated from you, but you know what? Okay.
He hands it to you, and you feel a odd energy. Roll me an Arcana check.
This is a lich ball. 14.
You... Hang on a second. Okay. You hold this lantern within your hand. The wood is very natural. It's a creation of magic from vegetation and some sort of other source. You are very familiar with the feeling of nature magic being a druid. This is not nature magic. This is the magic of the divine. A magic touched directly by the gods. and it feels weird in your hand. It doesn't conflict. In fact, this is the first time that you've ever felt magic seem to wind together and merge, as if it's touching the magic that you are capable of wielding directly. Feels weird, but it's not unpleasant.
Is this supposed to make my hair stand up on end?
It would if you're not used to the divine magic that is laced within it.
That's interesting.
Ben Kashayla nods and continues forward, falling behind after you, Thevin. And calls out to you, Chisel, and says, Chisel, keep up!
Okay.
Shrub kind of does like a little bit of a herding thing to make sure that you're staying with the rest of the group.
We're gonna take a little bit of rope, basically turning Shrub into a guide animal, like making a small harness around Shrub and giving the other end of the rope to Chisel.
Just to see how well you can tie the knots up for this harness, make me a survival check. Okay.
24.
With a solid 24, those knots aren't going anywhere. As Shrub just simply says, Come on, little guy. We're on the move.
You're smaller than me.
She pays
Don't
your
buy much.
She pays your comment literally zero mind.
She's half my height.
You all continue throughout this cavernous space, and you quickly realize how large this place is. From when you speak to each other, it bounces off the walls back to you, echoing very vividly. Even your footsteps seem a little too loud, especially when the sound from the outside world fades completely away. The dripping of water from stalactites echo throughout the darkness.
Going to be sneaking in here a little difficult now, isn't it?
I don't know. The quiet is a little bit nice. Plus, we'd be able to hear anything else.
I guess. One time it worked for us. Like, I know you're a scaredy cat, and Chisel, well, not sure what Chisel's gonna do if we run into something too big.
Now, I know I'm not the hunter you are, but I realize maybe saying we can't do stealth very well in a place that echoes is probably not the stealthiest thing you can be doing.
In a place like this, with the way the world is currently, whatever is you are hunting, a place specifically like this cave, is probably hunting you.
Oh, a challenge then.
What a good challenge.
A warning.
Same meaning, different words.
Ben Kashile simply shrugs before, once again, reaching into his pack and pulling out a small crystal that he kind of grips tightly in his palm, which glows, and you can see under his eyelids a golden light that also begins to glow. It is this very similar golden light to what Tanya and Nuntius have had, being oracles and being a subservient rendition of clerics themselves. Before he opens his palm and a thing of white light appears, a perfect sphere that floats up and then forward before beginning to deviate a little bit to the right. That should lead us to the flower. Hopefully it will take us to the path of, not necessarily least resistance, but less danger. And he begins walking once again. Thevin,
Yee.
need you to do me a favor.
Yee.
Roll me a Constitution saving throw.
Okay. 10.
You move throughout this cave system behind Ven Kashale, bow at the ready, prepared to take on whatever the hell this cave wants to throw at you. But what you don't expect, instead of an external threat, is an internal one. It feels as if there is a familiar sting that seems to settle over your skin. It's very minute, but it's something that you definitely notice. It sets your teeth on edge. As you take 5 radiant damage.
The hell? The bloody hells was that?
What was what?
This... Something... Something happened? I don't know. Get this weird feeling.
Well, it's a cave. They're weird.
Renkashale kind of looks up at your conversation. We're close. Chisel,
Yes.
could you do me a favor and roll me a perception check?
Oh no.
This is not with disadvantage, this is a flat roll.
Thank God.
You're moving through the cave. You're distracted by the occasional tugging on the rope leash. You don't really notice anything.
I'm trying not to just fall over some rocks that I'm not seeing.
Yeah, you're just trying your best not to hit new walls or anything like that. So you don't see anything. You're not really paying attention to everything else. Eventually, you all arrive to a very large... another large cave chamber. But this chamber is odd in that it is a mixture of hand-carved and natural stone. There are carvings made of large dragons carved into the stone, peering down. 3 of them in specific, all of them peering at the center, climbing the cave's domed ceiling. Boulders, large and cracks in the wall, form an uneven surface in a circular space. Grass grows where there used to be stone, and you feel the softness of dirt beneath your feet as you move. You inhale and you smell clean and fresh air compared to the dank stone that you had been smelling before for the past, I'll say, hour or so. It is very clear that something here has made its own sort of ecosystem within this small cave. It is lush, it is beautiful, it is vibrant, it's clearly self-managing in that it hasn't escaped the rest of the confines of this sort of chamber itself.
Oi, Redwood, got it? You're the nature guy. Got any ideas about all this?
You're the hunter guy. What builds an ecosystem?
A lot of things. But I've never seen an ecosystem like this in a cave.
And I've never been down this way.
Then Kashele pauses just a foot beyond the threshold of the entrance and goes, "That, my friends, is the power of the flower that we are finding."
I see why you want the flower now. Okay.
He looks around and goes, "Now, the tricky thing about the Dyer's Balholly is that it will defend itself. Let's just say nothing likes being killed." As he moves further in with that very ominous warning.
He was way before that, giant plant monster. Whatever it happens, I'm here for it.
7. Roll me another con save, please.
Okay. Much better, 17.
The tingling continues to persist. But you don't feel that immediate spike of heat like you did before. But the heat, the stinging has actually worsened. Not unbearably so, but it's now more prominent.
What the hell's in this bloody cave?
If you would like, you may make me a wisdom check.
Okie dokie. 16.
Your condition is what's causing this.
Oh, yeah. That. Oh,
Okay, Seven.
yeah, I'm fine. The sooner we get this done, the better, eh?
Redwood, if you would like, make me an insight check. 7. Roll me deception.
Okay.
This is where I'm gonna pull a 25 out of his ass. Oh,
No, a 9.
Nope.
if it starts to feel dangerous, or if it's an actual threat to the rest of us, let me know if I can help.
Alright, not sure what you're talking about, but sounds good.
It is very clear to you, Redwood, that 7 is dodging whatever concerns that you have and is hiding something.
Oh, really?
However you choose to handle this information as we continue is completely up to you.
I don't treat him with suspicion. I just have that general feeling of I've known him for about a month. I don't need his life story. I don't need to pry him, but yeah, if you need help, I'm here.
7 is definitely like brushing the comment off and continuing down, mission focused.
Izzle,
Yes.
roll me another perception check, please. This time with advantage.
I can't wait to fail this one.
Grip!
I can't wait to fail this one.
Wow! No, you still don't see anything.
I'm perfectly okay with
You are
this.
perfectly happy. This is clearly a very beautiful place. You can hear whatever's going on in this cave. You're not really paying attention to the conversation between Redwood and 7, but you know, wow, it smells better in here than it did in the previous area. For you, it smells like crisp. Like it is, because your other senses are stronger due to your lack of sight, the smell in the air is, you very, very much smell the natural plant life and the dirt and everything, and it is a very welcoming feeling compared to what you have been experiencing within the past hour.
It's pretty nice in here.
Oh, right, you can't see. We're in the middle of greenery that the flower seems to be spreading.
Yeah, that makes sense why it has a slight earthy tone to the end, to the scent, and just why flowers? Don't flowers need sun?
I would think so, but there are a lot of plants I don't know about. I've heard of something called a cactus, and it just sounds threatening.
Oh, yeah, a cactus. Little spiky things.
Redwood, go ahead and roll me a nature check. You are busy thinking about this terrifying plant that you have heard about from 7. The grass feels too nice. It's nice to be in a refreshing place that isn't a stone-cold cave. Chisel, I'm going to give you one last shot. Please, for the love of God, roll high. Roll me another perception check. Oh my
19
god!
if I have advantage.
Worse.
19 if I have advantage.
I will say, yes, you do have advantage, but that nat one would have been really bad.
Yes, it would.
Chisel, you are, again, you are more in tune to your other senses because of your lack of sight. It gives you great advantages in certain situations. You notice that Venkashale hasn't spoken in a while, and the natural sounds of the cave have seemed to quiet a little bit, and you begin to feel rumbling beneath your feet. And you start to pay a little bit more attention to the noises beyond. The others seem to either not notice or to be ignoring completely. As rumbling begins, you feel the ground shake. You notice rocks. You feel near your feet, small pebbles beginning to lift slightly off the ground as they begin to bounce. You also hear in the distance a familiar voice of Venkashale going, shit, 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 as he gets closer and closer to the rest of the group.
Hey, found the flower?
More like the flower found us.
All right, let's
no,
get to it.
Yeah, Redwood's immediately turning around and running.
Draws arrow.
You draw your arrow.
Ben was running, I'm running with Ben. Ben is the bravest person I know.
Venkashale is running as fast as he fucking can away from something large. You see this towering creature, its head just barely avoiding the ceiling as these wooden horns scratch along, creating gouges. Bark features appear from a mask created to make a face. Long roots and branches create spindling and thick trunk arms and legs and torso. Moss and vines hang from its body, creating an almost mammoth-like look to this creature, as claws made of the stone from the cave itself begin to scratch and gouge their way forward to grab purchase, chasing down its target of Venkashale, and now the rest of you. Roll me initiative, everybody. Okay. So, first up, Redwood, you see this creature tumbling towards you. What do you do?
Panic?
Are you running?
Yes.
Okay. So you're running, you have a 30-foot movement. Are you doing a dash action? So are you taking a full 60 feet?
I'm looking at my spells and seeing anything that will be helpful to me in this minute. And yeah, no, I'm fucking good. I'm running.
Okay, so you're running full 60 feet. Do you have anything for a bonus action, or is that just your turn?
I don't think I'm going to light shrub just yet, so we're gonna hold on to that.
Okay. Venkashale is next in initiative. He seems to stop for a moment. He puts his hands up, reaches down slightly into the ground before summoning some sort of energy and pulling his fist up and fire and punching the air forward, sending out a guiding bolt in the creature's direction. He punches the air, and you watch as this bolt of divine golden light rushes forward past all of you and seems to punch this thing straight in the chest. Whoever goes next has advantage on their next turn. That is now due to the light that seems to be shimmering from this thing's very core. Up next, Seven, you're up.
Yeah. So Seven will back up the 30 feet, make some tactical distance, heading towards the rest of the party. And then he's going to bring his 2 fingers up, and I'm going to cast Hunter's Mark, as in a circle around the creature, and essentially makes a crosshair type sigil, and plant it on it.
Got it.
Then I'm going to shoot it with the bow. That's 13 to hit.
13.
Probably not going to hit.
13.
That's a 17, because...
Oh yeah, advantage. I'm sorry. Yeah, 17 to
Yes,
hit.
17 will hit.
Cool. So, longbow damage, favorite enemy damage, and Hunter's Mark damage.
So that in total is
18.
a good old whopping 18. Thank you. Is that all for your turn?
Yep. That was movement, action, and bonus action.
Great. Chisel, you are up.
How far away am I from it?
It is about 30 feet from you and getting closer. You feel the tugging of Shrub as she is attempting to get you to move.
Okay.
Yeah, shrub goes
So, is Shrub trying to pull me back away from the monster, or just in a random direction?
Away from the monster towards the direction of the rest
I'm going to run left.
Are you running a full 60 feet, or are you just running...
I only have 25 feet.
Oh, so you can only move 50 feet. Okay.
Yes.
Are you...
I have tiny legs.
So you are using a dash action here?
Yes. I don't have anything ranged.
Okay. So you dash. Do you have anything for a bonus action that you would like to do?
Unless if I want to do my second wind and do rally cry, which just heals people, no.
Okay.
We don't need that right now.
As far as I'm aware, none of you have taken damage yet.
Well, I have.
Well, you have, yes. Speaking of which, a couple of things. 7, I'm gonna need you to roll me one more con save.
Oh boy. That's an 18.
Okay. You are fine for now.
Cool.
Again, tingling is there, still pretty prominent. This thing is going to go ahead and use a legendary action.
It has legendary actions at level 3.
Ah.
Oh no!
You all feel the ground begin to rumble as it seems to stop for a moment, dig its hands into the ground of the cave, and summons a series of sharp vines and briars at your feet. Going to need everyone to give me a strength saving throw.
Ian.
Indian.
Chisel and Thevin, you both are entangled within these sharp briars. Redwood, you are fine. I also need to roll for Venkashale. Oh no! Venkashale's ankle fully gets wrapped up by one of the briars and he trips and falls into them. He is prone. He is now knocked prone. Up next, Redwood.
I see the panic and everyone trapped behind me. And the spell that comes to my mind is I turn and I cast Wither and Bloom. Basically a 10-foot sphere trying to capture as many of you guys as possible. I choose a number of creatures that have to make a con save or take necrotic damage, and I'm going to choose the fucking plants. And yeah, they have to make a con save or take 2d6. What's my save DC? Where is that? 14.
Well, let me ask you this: are you aiming at the creature, or are you aiming at the vines that have sprouted beneath everybody?
I'm more aiming at the vines around everybody because I can give another creature in that area HP.
So
Plus, it also withers any non-magical vegetation.
got it. So, because this is considered magical, it will not.
Yeah, I figured.
It's not going to wither them, but it will have to make that con save. And you said your DC is a 14?
Yep.
It fails with a 2.
Dope. That's 2d6. 6 necrotic damage.
Okay.
And because he's the only one that's taking damage, Thevin, roll an unspent hit die and regain HP. Plus 6. No, sorry. Plus 4.
Plus 4. 6 health.
Very nice.
Yeah, with the panic. And with Shrub right next to the chisel, I'm going to inflame Shrub.
You light her up. She immediately bursts into that familiar warm red and orange flames. Chisel, you can feel the heat next to you as she continues to keep the fire off of the lead. Basically acting as your battle companion for a little while.
Your guide dog has a fire gun.
So Chisel, you sense the heat coming off of her, and you know that she has officially lit up thanks to Redwood's quick thinking. You also feel the briars have seemed to actually retract. They haven't. They seem to clearly be connected in this moment as the creature pulls back its hands and seems to rear up with the sudden pain of this necrotic damage.
Yep.
Basically dropping the entangle early and completely. So you all are able to move, but Venkashale is still prone.
Okay. And Shrub is going to make a flame seed shot at the creature.
Roll to hit, my friend.
21.
Yeah, that's gonna fucking hit. Roll your damage.
4.
Alright. You have Redwood, you have Shrub throw out this flame seed, which is her opening her mouth and firing a decently sized fireball out at this creature that is attacking you and your companions. And it hits the creature, and the creature seems to actually reel back.
even further into itself. More than it did when you had hit it with the previous necrotic damage. It seems to almost kind of like retract, like kind of do that same thing a child who had hurt itself would do, as if coiling into themselves to protect an injured spot.
I gotta cast my fire spells.
Yep. Alright. Up next, we have Venkashale. Venkashale is going to use half of his movement to get himself up. Thank you.
The chisel burrito spin.
That was not fun.
Quick, wrap chisel up and make sure he has his warhammer in his hand. We spin him like a Beyblade.
Like the cartoon where the dog runs around the owner.
He is going to go ahead and cast Bane. You watch as he begins chanting as he pulls out a small dagger in which he seems to prick a finger, squeezing out a drop of blood into his palm before rubbing them together and throwing his hands outward towards the creature. The creature is going to need to make a charisma save. It fails the saving throw. He is now baned. He will now be subtracting a d4 from his attack rolls and saving throws. Okay. Up next, we have Thevin.
I'm still grappled by the thorns, right? Or did those go away?
Those are gone.
Okay, cool. So taking a few more feet back, just, make sure I'm definitely out of its range now. And then fire. I don't think an 11 hits.
11 does not hit. Your bow goes wide.
That's all I really can do.
Chisel, you're up.
It moved closer, right?
It actually moved a little bit away due to the fire damage of the shrub.
I'm gonna run over with my 50 feet, use action surge, and try to knock it down with my warhammer. I don't think a 16 hits.
A 16 does hit, actually. So you go ahead, smack this thing with your warhammer, dealing a good bit of damage, hitting it in its wooden calf, stone meeting wood, making a very vicious crunching noise of the natural vegetation that makes up this creature. It's now the creature's turn. The creature is going to, seeing that you actually have moved closer to it, Chisel, is going to try and claw at you. It's going to try and grab you, actually.
It's gonna whack.
Go ahead and make me a dexterity saving throw. Holy shit.
The adrenaline's kicking in now.
Yeah, the adrenaline is kicking in. You manage to feel the wind of its big, large hand begin to swoop down to try and grab you. And you duck just in time to avoid its swing. You survived that by hitting the DC on the mark. So it was literally just if you were like even a millisecond too late, it would have got you. Alrighty dighty. It is going to use its second turn to go ahead and throw a rock at you, Thevin.
Okay, come at me.
The creature digs its hand into the ground, pulling out one of the jagged boulders from within the earth and throws it at you. Once again, I'm going to need you to make a dexterity saving throw. It is going to be against this creature's strength.
21.
Once again, managing to survive by the skin of your teeth, you manage to roll out of the way of this boulder.
Oh, you're going to throw better than that. You want to catch me, lad.
Make me a con saving throw, please.
Okay.
You will be making one at the end of every single turn. At the end of every
round.
Yes.
Okay, that's a 14.
Take a set of 3 radiant damage, my good friend.
Okay.
Bro, quit being allergic to the cave.
I can't help it.
So, it is now back up to you, Redwood.
As a player, I know I need to cast fire magic, but as Redwood, that's fucking terrifying.
Wisdom save?
Yeah, that sounds legit.
Yeah, roll me a wisdom save.
11.
As much as your desire to keep that locked away, that part inside of you, instinct overpowers your own personal anxiety to survive. And you know, you've seen it. Fire magic is the only way to subdue this.
It's a plant.
You have no choice.
It's a plant. I feel less bad about a plant, but I really don't like using it. So I'm going to cast Scorching Ray.
Okay. First
So,
hits.
24.
First hits. Other two do not.
Yeah. I don't like casting the fire, so the first one is true. Then I'm like, oh shit, fire, and the other two go in wild directions. I deal 4 fire damage on 2d6.
Oof.
Wow!
It's better than 2 damage.
Yes.
You throw out the Scorching Ray at it, hitting it just below what a normal person's ribcage would be on its right side. And it once again curls in on itself. But you can also see that it is becoming more volatile the more fire you throw at it.
Yeah, it's like it either.
As in this moment is going to use another legendary action
Mm.
Oh no.
and is going to... You actually watch as it opens its maw and vines that sort of remind you, uncomfortably enough, of tentacles shoot out and are going to try and pierce you. What is your armor class?
16.
It hits you with a 17. You are going to take 11 piercing damage. And you are pinned.
Because it's just a verbal spell, I'm going to use a bonus action healing word over at 7.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I
So
told you, fucking tell me.
you throw a single scorching ray at him. 2 of them go wide. 1 manages to hit it. The creature acts aggressively in return to your attack, shooting at you with these vines, piercing through your leg, your arm, and your hand, and stick into the ground, pinning you in place.
And I'm gonna have Shrub try and shoot the hand.
These vines are coming out of this thing's mouth.
Yo, we're going for the face.
With a 17 that will hit.
7 fire.
You aim for its face. You strike it successfully with Shrub's flame seed. You don't hit it directly on the area that you had requested, but it does somewhat recoil, causing the vines that it has through you to sort of slacken somewhat. They don't lose their grip. I would say I'm going to make this rule now. If you guys wish to hit a specific part of a creature's body, you must roll a natural 20. Is that the end of your turn?
That's my turn, and that's Shrub's turn.
Got it. Up next, we've got Venkashale. What's this boy gonna do? He is going... Yeah, he's gonna run over to you and try and help. He is going to attempt to remove the vines from you. He looks to you and goes, "This is going to hurt, and I'm very sorry, but we need to get moving." As he grabs one and begins to pull, he's going to make a strength check here. He's going to make an athletics check. If he succeeds in removing them, you will take extra piercing damage.
I have 10 HP.
With a natural 20, he does remove each vine. That will be his action. It will be his turn. However, I will say with a natural 20, he does manage to remove the vines
well enough and swiftly enough that you take no damage. It is now your turn, 7.
Yee. Then once you get closer now, yelling at the creature like, "Oi! Why don't you pick on me?" As I fire and shoot again. Let's see if I actually hit this time. No, it's even worse.
You attempt to intimidate this creature by firing at it and hoping that your shot finally lands after 2 bad attempts, and it falls flat. Your arrow goes straight into the ground.
That kind of grabs his head a bit as it hurts. Like, bloody hell, what is wrong with me today?
Fizzle, it is your turn.
Well, the fighter must fight. I'm going to try to keep knocking it down. 16.
That will hit.
8.
You swing at this thing's knees in an attempt to continue to bring it down, hitting it as hard as you can, looking rather hurt, I will say that, but not enough that it actually falls.
How is everyone's HP at currently?
Half.
Redwood is a little fucky.
I will use Rally Cry then, spending my second wind, but everyone gains 3 HP. Redwood, Ven Kashale, and Devin all gain 3 HP.
You rally cry, letting out this sort of battle roar while being very much underneath this creature's feet. And Redwood, you actually had noticed as Ven Kashale is pulling these vines and briars from you that he looked rather roughed up, even though he hasn't been strucken by anything. And you can assume it's whatever happened before the monster started chasing all of you. And him being healed seems to make him relax his shoulders slightly, as the healing magic begins to come in, and he begins to feel a little bit rejuvenated as you all begin to feel better. The creature is once again going to try and swing for you, but it's going to swing for not you, Chisel, but 7 in specific. 7, I'm going to need you to make me a dexterity saving throw as it attempts to grapple you. Or to
Cool, 19.
You miss, or it misses you.
Yeah.
You basically kind of jump over this thing's hand as it begins to wind up to swing at you, to grab you and do something with you. In this moment, I'm going to need you to make me a con saving throw. I forgot to mention that it is with disadvantage. In this moment,
okay.
as it's closer to you, you suddenly feel a burst of something hitting you like a truck, or hitting you hard. Your skin seems to erupt with an underlying fire as you take 9 radiant damage.
Oh, so it's you! You're the bloody bastard doing it!
Creature seems to hear your words and tilts its head as it once again goes to swing at you. Make me another dexterity save.
Yep. 25.
Once again, you jump over its hand. Once again, I'm going to need another con save.
17.
You're fine. It burns, but you definitely don't feel it as a painful sort of feeling. Alrighty. Redwood, we are back to you. I will say, now that we are at the top of the round, the creature is looking hurt. I will be rolling to see if the creature manages to regain its legendary actions, 5 or higher, and it gets them back. Rolling. I will actually roll this on the board.
Ooh. Okay, got it back.
Fuck.
That's unfortunate.
Fuck.
Now, does it get 1 back or does it gain all of it back?
It gains all of them back.
Okay. That I don't know legendary resistances but that seems a little overpowered.
That's legendary actions. It doesn't have legendary resistances clearly, but it does have legendary actions.
This is the exact opposite of what I want to do, but Redwood's going to run up to the thing.
Oh!
Because
No.
Burning Hands will hit my friends if anyone else is in front of me.
Does it require a dex save?
Yes.
Yes.
Does require a dex save on the creature's part, but because it is so large and it's because it's in such a confined space, it will be rolling this with disadvantage. You know what? DC 14. You know what? This is going to be another on the board thing. It fails the save. Wait, actually, let's see. Hang on. See if it gets in that one.
No,
Yeah, it
that's
failed.
zero.
Stick with the 5.
It fails the save. So, yeah, roll your damage.
It's there. 11 fire damage.
Oh, right. My bad.
As Redwood takes his full movement. From everyone else's perspective, it looks like an epic maneuver where he does a roll, but honestly, he kind of tripped a little bit. And he does this somersault, and he brings his hands up and casts Burning Hands.
You cast Burning Hands on this creature, significantly injuring it as you actually watch the wood begin to catch proper fire. The fire doesn't have any red within it. You know how a fire typically has like that yellow, orange coloring to it? It doesn't have that. It's like a golden color. As the creature seems to release a deep, low baritone howl that sounds similar to a foghorn as it sort of stumbles and falls to its knees.
And I'm just burning spell slots at this point. I'm going to use a healing word on myself. And then Shrub has a shot.
Yes.
Shrub does not miss.
Shrub does not miss.
That's 5 more fire damage.
Hey, Redwood. How do you want to do this?
I think after I do that tactical flame, Shrub uses her movement and slips out of the harness, does almost a springboard off of Redwood, and spins herself with the flame seed to become almost this twirling ball of fire as it strikes into the body of the plant, digging and burning like a minute meteor. A fluffy meteor! And eventually she comes to a momentum pause as the thing is stuck there, grounded by its roots to hold itself upright as the fire eventually fades from her. And she basically is sitting in the middle of this crater, in the middle of its chest.
The creature stills, the roots properly beginning to catch, falls to its side, one of its arms hanging outward from underneath it. Shrub climbs out of the creature, covered in a decent bit of soot. And Venkashale moves extremely quickly to the creature, mainly towards its faceplate area, and looks to each of you and goes, "Help me with this."
Hey, alright, fine.
Everyone who is helping will give Venkashale, you can all either roll strength, or you guys can give Venkashale advantage. I will say,
We'll
roll
give him
strength.
advantage.
are you sure you want to do that? Okay, because Venkashale has a -1 to strength.
I have a +1 to strength.
So again, my question, are you guys rolling strength? Are you giving him advantage?
I rolled strength and got a 10.
In character, I need a minute.
Okay. Chisel?
I'm gonna roll strength.
Okay. All of you struggle for a moment to get a decent purchase onto this faceplate. You guys, all of you, catching some slight splinters as you pull it away to reveal the inside of this thing, and you see that the head acted as a sort of protective shelter against your attacks for a beautiful glowing holly plant. The flowers are in full bloom. They light the inside of this wooden creature's head beautifully,
showing the shadows that cross against the grooves of the bark of the wood that used to make this creature whole. Venkashale very carefully reaches in, plucks the leaf, the flower from within, places it into a separate small pouch that he binds tightly, putting it into his bag.
Well, that's a pretty whatever it is.
I assume that's what we're here for?
It is.
Awesome.
7.
Aye.
Con save with disadvantage.
Okay. That's a 9.
You take 11 radiant damage upon being such close proximity to this divine plant.
Okay, time for that check. What do I need to make for the wisdom?
The DC for it is a 15. You all watch in this moment as the pouch passes by Theven for a brief moment. You see him back up, double over in pain. Theven, for you in this moment, you completely black out, but you know what's happening. You claw at your own skin, you pull at your mask, your clothing feels too tight, you begin to tear it as claws actually begin to form on your own hands from your nails, darkening in color. Your body warps and shapes into something different, something monstrous. Spines, sharp and pointed and dark in color, begin to pierce through your flesh and out your back. Similarly through your elbows. Your legs become bowed, your eyes wild and animal-like, your hair becoming wild and unkept. You all hear the shredding of the fabric, the seams giving way, the cloak of the sort of shawl of fur that he had created himself falling to the ground as the leather straps that used to hold it snap. You see as he claws his mask away, a series of scars on the side of his face, and a sort of downwards look that gives him almost a stretched, permanent smile. The flesh having been ripped away enough to expose teeth that have been turned into fangs, as saliva begins to pour from his mouth, and a mixture of even a little bit of blood as well. 7, you once again experience your nightmare. Gonna need everyone to re-roll me initiative. Redwood, once again, you have watched your friend, this compatriot of yours that you've been traveling with for the past few weeks, suddenly turn into a monster that is clearly very aggressive. What do you do?
From that breath of relief to that moment of panic, he realizes he's running extremely low on magic. So Redwood instead turns most of his magic toward himself, and he's going to wild shape.
Oh! What does your wild shape look like? What does it look like as you transform?
He sort of grabs his shoulders as, like, the edges of his fingers start to glow on his robes, as this fire-like burning ash wraps itself around as it spreads this sparkling glow, almost like a battery on steel wool. It sort of wraps in these multitudes of patterns going around him as he starts to come forward, the robes wrapping around tighter, his hair pulling in, his ears moving towards the back of his head, as the fire leaves almost ash behind as he falls in all fours as a panther.
Ooh, okay. Everyone just kind of hears Shrub go, uh-oh.
Luckily, Shrub is still in fire mode because we didn't... Wait, no, with the ending thing, I had her go out.
Yes,
Yeah.
at the end of combat,
Oh, fuck!
Shrub is no longer fire mode. Chisel, you hear Venkashali go, has Steven always been able to do that?
What
I
happened
can't
to
speak.
Steven?
You feel a hand on your shoulder as for a brief moment you feel Venkashale transport an image into your mind.
Dear the Lords, what's happened to him?
I don't know, and quite frankly, I will figure that out later. Okay, so Redwood, you have used your action to turn into a panther.
Yep, and Shrub's going to use normal fox stats and go for a bite.
So everyone knows, 7, what is your AC?
15.
Beats it.
Beats it.
Shrub does not miss.
Shrub does not miss indeed.
My own problem, though. She only deals 1 damage.
How are, speaking of which, 7, how are you looking on HP as of right now?
So I got dropped to 2, but then I got that temp HP.
Redwood, that is the end of your turn, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Chisel,
How
you are...
far away is 7?
7 is 10 feet away from you.
Okay, so I can technically see where he is. So I'm gonna walk up and bonk.
Okay.
I am taking his knees.
No more kneecaps for you. Your kneecaps privileges have been revoked.
No.
That is
does
with
not-
advantage. Because Shrub is
Wait.
right next to him.
You attempt to take 7's kneecap privileges away.
Give me your knees.
Missing, unfortunately, due to the direness of the situation. 7.
I will say, Chisel, when you miss, you kind of hear this low grumble that glyphs into almost like a hyena-like laugh. Like,
In this moment, it is very clear to everybody that 7 is more animal than man. Up next, we have Venkashale. He is also running low on magic himself, but he's going to go ahead and use a spell regardless. Redwood, on your back, you feel for a brief moment a small cloth suddenly be pressed against you and meld into your body as a sort of that similar feeling of divine magic mixing with your own natural magic in your wild shape. As Venkashale casts resistance, add a D4 and add it to a saving throw of your choice. You can roll it before or after the saving throw, then the spell ends. And that is Venkashale's turn. 7.
okay, so another question. Am I still able to cast my spells in this form?
You are not able to cast your spells in this form.
Alright.
This is
Thank God.
the best way to describe this is that it is very similar to that of a barbarian rage.
The claw attack was going to Chisel because he is the closest, but that's most likely
not
a miss.
gonna hit.
You're lucky I am rolling very crap for my attack rolls tonight.
Is now a bad time to mention that you also have a multi-attack? Just 2. You have one more.
14, 15, 16?
That will hit.
These are stats.
Thank you, loyal DM.
You're welcome.
Favorite enemy. Are you missing any health, Chisel?
No, I am not.
And then let's see here. Additional 2d4 as well. 19.
Holy shit.
That's not 19.
9, 10, 11,
9,
12,
13 plus 7. That's 20. I don't know why I'm helping you, but
Oh yeah, I forgot also, my AC increased by 1, so instead of 15 to 16 right now. And that's the end of my turn.
Redwood, you're up.
Can I charge at him? Do I have 20 feet?
You do have 20 feet.
So we're going to leap at your ass. I've got a +4 to hit in this roll. Meets it, beats it.
Oh.
Make a strength saving throw. DC
Okay.
is 12.
Failed it.
Cool. You are prone.
Okay.
And my damage does a D4 plus 2.
5.
So
Alright.
5 slashing damage.
So that
Stop
means
it.
everyone
Rob-
else now has advantage against you.
At least until I get back up.
No! Don't get back up. Panther
is-
does not have a multi-attack, so it is Shrub's go. You missed!
With
We're going to
with
die!
With advantage. He is prone.
It's prone.
Oh, thank God!
There you go.
But
There,
still
take your 1 damage.
Yep.
I'm gonna smash your head in. With a 21.
Oh yeah, that'll hit.
6 bludgeoning.
Yeah, that knocks me out.
You all aggressively do your best to subdue your companion. Redwood, you had turned your magic into yourself in order to change form, and you had also been touched by divine magic at the same time. We will get to that bit in a moment. Chisel, you failing to hit the previous enemy before feel a surge of satisfaction in taking down your companion, as much as that's also giving
Technically,
you
currently, he is not my companion.
Yes. You do feel a certain amount of guilt as you watch him transform from this beast to a simple man once again. His clothes are torn. He is very much clearly exhausted from whatever just happened to him. He seems to look somewhat sickly in the moment. He is no longer bleeding and frothing at the mouth, but there's still a trail of it on his cheek as he just lays there for a moment.
Smile scars on the face are still there, just, accustomed to his human shape.
Yes. The scars specifically are like a series of lines, kind of like similar to that of a zombie with the size of its face kind of ripped away, but in like smaller and more jagged. Redwood, roll me an insight check.
Oh no. 14.
In this moment of relying on the last bit of reserves of your magic in order to survive an encounter. This isn't something that has happened to you before. It was very, very rare for you to wild shape. Shrub's uh-oh at the beginning of combat was her understanding just how serious this was. You were very much low on health, low on resources, low on magic. In this moment of reflection from seeing a companion of yours fall, feel odd, and then when you look inside yourself further, that flame, that fire that you have been ignoring for so long, in this moment of a need for you to live and survive, combined with the divine touch of Venkashale, feel the fire within you roar. And at first you feel powerful. There's a moment where you hear a very familiar feminine voice at the back of your mind. You are doing well. I believe in you. I'm always watching. And then that anxiety that you had falls away to a sense of peace. You know this voice. You've heard it once before. You've been searching for it for a very long time. But your companion is still on the floor. You are still within a very dangerous cave. And there is still a village waiting for all of you to return to it. That was Casey as Redwood of Velico Draveau, Brian as Chisel Havard, Jared as Steven Winterfell, Danny as our lore master, and Eli as the archivist and dungeon master. If you wish to see more of our content here at the 20-Sided Archives, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also follow us on Spotify for a fully edited podcast version of this episode and more, the link for which is in the description below. Along with this, we have a special announcement. Starting March 5th at 6:30 p.m. EST, we will be going live on our official Twitch channel, the link for which is in the description below. So if you wish to catch these episodes in real time, why not check that out? Thank you so much for watching.